Good evening, good day everywhere in the world. My name is Sanda Davis. I am the mother. And as I promised, I will keep you informed with how things are going with the kingdom of God on earth. Things are advancing. It started on the 7th of June, and I still have some tiredness from the intense work that was done day and night, but it was totally worth it. And things are improving, though, in terms of things getting getting easier by the day. Now, an update of importance to all of you is to know that in the higher realms, all deities and all divinities agreed with the kingdom of God on earth, but obviously it's not just on earth. It is significant to us because now we came to that point. In the kingdom of God, paradise is the ideal place. Paradise is for training, for learning, for higher evolution, for divine beings who are on earth, or human beings who develop their deity, their divinity. And the kingdom is where problems from the past are mended, meaning if people have problems with their functions, with health, physical, spiritual, uh, internal conflicts, as long as they are not wrongdoers, uh, they will have all the help that they need to recover from their problems. We try to help everybody, of course, but some reject because they have their mind made up in some regards, or some just want their own spiritual leader to heal them or to teach them, and that's fine. And now it's less of a problem. There was a time when they were turning down what they desperately needed because unless it came from their spiritual leader, they wouldn't accept it. Uh, but they developed their faithfulness, their commitment and devotion that way, so something good came out of that as well. Some paid a high price for that, but the good news now is that all deities and all divinities agree. They all have their people that they have to take care of, but they all take care of people to connect them to God. They don't hoard people for themselves, for their purposes. Their mission is to help people in their evolution to find their way back to God or to find their way to God. For people to be able to enter the dimensions of paradise, thus living much longer and much better and having a universal career and universal evolution, they have to resolve issues that can only be resolved in the kingdom. Outside of the kingdom, there's no pain inflicted on those who are not ready for the kingdom, but there are consequences of their own choices, of their own state of mind, of their own situation, of their own behaviors. People who are very angry or very ill, and because of criteria that they don't want to fulfill, are still outside the kingdom. Of course, they don't have the power of the kingdom behind them to help them with their healing. It doesn't mean that if they're outside the kingdom they are neglected. No, they're not neglected, but their healing has the limitations that come from their own issues. People who lie, for instance, or people who aggress others, who have to treat their aggression, they have some issues there, and as soon as they are willing to resolve them, they will be able to learn the steps towards the kingdom. Doesn't have to take long. Some people can make up their mind in a second and find themselves in that dimension, which is the dimension of the kingdom. But the way things are on earth are organized from the kingdom of God, which is absolutely new. You have to know that up to recently, actually up to June 7th, the one who ran things on earth was death. Everything was to satisfy death. Everything was to stop longevity, to stop healing, to stop truth, to stop understanding, and so on. And that was the case for thousands of years. Nobody could fight death, and she gave the impression, she had many forms, but she gave the impression that whoever is friendly with death and accepts death and dedicates themselves one way or another to accepting death, even thinking that to live longer they have to die. And there are theologies that turn things that way. Well, it turned out that actually all that she did was to lead them into dysfunctions, numb their compassion, numb their understanding, take their light, make it hard for them, and cut into their longevity. So, Mother to the rescue. All the deities who could never stop death, they had to call on to Mother, because the life power of Mother and the mother field, actually the God, had the power to stop the entity of death. Now people have to stop their own behaviors that they've learned from death, from the entity where she was there. Like the natural person would never think to hurt another, but those who are numbed by death, taught by death, who are having their best, most important issues connected to solutions that appear to be good, if they are connected to death, that's a mistake. Feeding death was a mistake. But they think that they give their life for their country. That's very honorable. But once they fight to defend the life and the quality of life in their country, that fight has to be so skilled that ideally would have to be non-death inducing. We'll talk about that. It's absolutely possible. You may have fun watching the movie The Man Who Stares at Goats, or The Man Who Stares at Goats, to see there that if the American army has to be successful in the future, it has to be wonderful. And there's a lot of comedy there, but a lot of good points. There are ways for the American army, or for any army on earth, to win a battle without killing a person. And that turns out to be peacekeeping troops, but that is so advanced and so closer than you think, and totally feasible in the kingdom of God. You learn that people will have to learn. Without death buzzing in their head, they will actually have much fewer accidents. And everything that people did that brought their death or the deaths of others, they will be able to learn how to prevent it. They will be able how to eat healthy, how to protect each other, how to drive without getting in tremendous trouble. So there's a lot that people have to learn about how to function, how to use their mind and their spirit and their heart and their soul and the lights of paradise and the lights of the kingdom of God in them, for them to be able to stop death, that the entity was stopped, but now they have to stop themselves from the dangerous situations, and they have to protect each other from the dangerous situations. So that's to answer your question, like if there is no death, why are people still losing their existence? Why do they become deceased? It's a different thing. Even when death was in power, some people would become deceased without being taken by the entity of death. And that was making a big difference regarding their trajectory in other dimensions and their return to life. We'll talk about those things. What's most important for you to know is that the entity of death no longer exists, and it does not exist, that you have to learn how to value and enhance your life so you could live long, long, long on this earth. And you have to know that there is no need for religious wars, because the leaders of all religions actually have a very nice ecumenical relationship up in the heavens, and they are bringing that to earth. Their embodiments on earth will teach you that you can be Christians, and you can be Buddhists, and you can be whatever your religion is. You can love the Christ, you can love Buddha. At the same time, you have to keep a good relationship with the others and learn from one another. Christians will stay Christians, unless they choose to change, but for the most, there's no push to change, there's no theology to change, because there is a reason for it. Some belong to one spiritual leader and some to another. We'll talk about that at a different time, but right now just know that I'm the mother, long forgotten, and now people remember more and more. Christ called me, the Father called me. They asked me to do the work that I do because they couldn't stand what death was doing to people. If you look into the life of Buddha, you'll see that he was not happy with the fact that people were dying. He knew that that's not all right. He knew that that's not the way it's supposed to be. So now we have to learn how to live and how to enhance our life, health, and longevity. And Christ loves me, the Father loves me, Buddha loves me, and they love you too. Once they got rid of the falsehood, the darkness, and the deadly thing for which they did call me, and I was happy to do it for them because I love them too. Once we got rid of the false, now we are free to relate to the real ones, and to relate beautifully, and to relate happily, and to relate to each other with respect for each other's religions. Dogma would want you to believe something else, but that's part of the learning. That's all for now. I will come back with newer videos and with further news for you. Love you all, and thank you for all that you've done to make things happen. And as you see, I had time to comb my hair. I rested somewhat. I'm still due for a few months of rest, but that's okay. I can do that while I continue the work. Love for all of you. Keep in touch and check my website, www.sandadavis.com. That's the Mother's portal for Paradise on Earth.